So things are starting to take shape here, and there's probably at least one person who's decided to go and try to hook up the React front end to our REST API backend, and you probably wrote all of the code in JavaScript absolutely flawlessly and still couldn't get it to work and kept seeing an error, something about CORS. And that's because our React front end is actually running on an application on port 3000, and our React backend is running on port 4000. And it's doing that because you can't share ports with two different application servers. So when that happens, the built-in security feature for most modern browsers says, well, unless the backend you're connecting to explicitly says allow connections from wherever you currently are, then deny it. So we need to fix that, and we can fix it really easily in our Go backend by adding a little bit of middleware. So I'm in my Go application right now, and in my command API folder, I'm going to create a new file, which I'll call middleware.go. And I'll give it its package declaration, and it's in the main package. And I'll have one function here, dead simple middleware, and it has the application receiver, and I'm going to call this middleware enable CORS, cross-origin requests. And like all middleware in Go, we have to give it a parameter, one parameter, which I'll call next, and that's of type http.handler, and it has to return an http.handler. So to do that, we're going to have a dead simple return statement. Return, and it has to be an http.handler func, which takes an inline function as its argument with the parameters of w, response writer, and r, which is a pointer to a request. And inside of that, we'll simply set the header, w.header.set, and we're going to give it the key of access with a capital A, hyphen, control with a capital C, hyphen, allow with a capital A, hyphen, origin, and the argument, or the value for that key, is simply star, allow all requests. And then we just, as you have to in a handler or in a middleware, next.serve HTTP, and give it the W and the R, a response writer and a request. So that is our middleware, and it's dead simple. Now there's one more change we have to make, actually two changes in the routes file. And they're pretty simple. First of all, we don't want to return this type from the HTTP router package. Instead, we'll return an http.handler, which the one from the HTTP router package satisfies anyway, so this actually will work even with no other changes. But we want to enable the middleware. So we're going to do that by returning not just router. I'll delete that. We're going to return app.enableCORS and pass it the router. And that adds the middleware to every single request that comes to our application. And that's the only change we need to make. Now, allowing cross-origin requests from everywhere may be exactly what you want. Maybe you have a public API. Or perhaps you want to narrow it down a bit and only allow it from specific locations. And we'll talk more about how to tighten up the constraints on that middleware a bit later in the course. But this will get us going in any case. So let's move on and try connecting our React front end to our Go backend.